Welcome, folks at home, to another episode of Jamin's Daily. We got a special show with Coach Keno Aleman. We're making this now a weekly tradition. Say hello, Coach, to the folks at home.
Hello, folks.
Now, lead us in. So we're going to start off. This is our weekly college football preview. And we're starting off with what, Coach?
We're going to start off with the ACC. We got 5 ball games to talk about. We're going to start off with Duke at North Carolina State.
Duke at North Carolina State. Okay, and so what's the line on that game?
The line on that game is North Carolina State is favored by 4.5. The overs and unders is 60. Duke is not playing too well this year. They're 1-4. They finally won a game, I think it was last week, against Syracuse. But they've lost to Notre Dame, Boston College, Virginia, and Virginia Tech. And usually Duke plays better ball.
No, they've been. They're normally competitive. If they're not good or win a lot of games, they're normally fairly competitive. So to see that they were 0-4 and then lost their last game, so they're coming off a win.
Off a win. You remember Duke played our Aggies?
Yeah, and
years ago.
A&M, Johnny Manziel's the bowl game. Yeah, Johnny Manziel. They came back and beat them.
But anyway, they're playing at North Carolina State. They're playing the Wolfpack. Wolfpack is 3-1, surprisingly.
Okay.
They've beaten Wake Forest, Virginia, and Pitt. And Pitt's a good football team. They lost to Virginia Tech, and Virginia Tech is a good football team.
So the line is who's favorite again?
NC State.
NC State, and they're playing at NC State.
At NC State.
And it's how many points? 4.5?
4.5. I think that's a good game to pick if you're picking. If you're betting.
Well, what was the overs?
60. I don't know about the overs, but Duke, I don't know if Duke can score that many points to stay up with NC State. NC State's been scoring pretty good. They're probably averaging about almost 30 points a game. They've scored 45 against Wake Forest, 38 against Virginia, 30 against Pitt, and they scored 24 in their loss to Virginia Tech.
So in the bet then really comes down to how many points is the other team going to score?
Yes.
And how many? What's
the line is
Virginia?
4.5.
What's Virginia Tech averaging?
No, North Carolina.
North Carolina State averaging. No, who North Carolina State's playing? Who?
Duke.
How much is North Carolina State playing or averaging on their?
They average about 30 points a game.
Okay, well, it sounds like
sounds like if you want to bet,
it could be an overs game. You never know.
You never know. Nowadays, with this virus going on, the teams didn't have much time to practice. There's not much defense being played.
Yeah, I agree.
Teams haven't had enough time to practice tackling. Like one guy said the other day, Florida's blaming the loss to A&M. They came back with the virus.
No, and what's his name? I'm glad you brought that up because what's the coach at Florida? Mullins. Coach Mullins was saying that he was going to reach out and tell his AD that he wanted as many
folks
as many fans. They needed to open it up because it was a factor in Aggie Land, which is, folks, if you don't know, A&M, home of the 12th man, it does make a difference. So
yes, but there wasn't no 12-man crowd.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't 100,000 people.
It wasn't 100,000.
But when these,
it's like the one sports writer said, one sportscaster said, Florida needs to learn how to tackle.
Right? He's looking for an excuse, right?
He's looking for an excuse.
Well, I give him credit.
Let's go to the next game.
What's the next game?
Clemson at Georgia Tech. Clemson's number 1 in the nation.
I looked at the
best quarterback in the nation.
They're the best team for sure. It's them and Alabama are at the top for sure.
Right now, if I was picking Alabama and Clemson, I think I'd tend to go with Clemson because they play some good defense. They showed it last week against Miami. Yeah. Miami was thought that they were coming out, and Clemson put them in their spot by beating them 42-17. Wasn't even close.
No, they beat them bad. Clemson is an amazing team. They got talent everywhere. They play great defense. They're gonna be in the playoffs for sure.
Oh, for
No
sure.
one in the ACC is gonna beat them. I don't think they'd have to play this terrible. But lo and behold, every year they have these close games. North Carolina will play them tough.
North Carolina almost beat them last year.
Exactly.
They should have beat them.
North Carolina can beat them, or North Carolina can play them tough.
A failed 2-point conversion.
So it can happen. They're prone. They've done it before, but when it comes to just talent and great players, they're a playoff team.
They're a playoff team.
What is a 20 point? It's a
27 points.
27. When I saw
The
that
overs
number,
and unders are 64.
when you gave me the when I was looking at the sheet of paper with all the lines on it, and I looked at Clemson and North Carolina, who plays tough, but when I saw that number 27, that's crazy. It's a lot of points.
Well,
do you think they're that? Are they that good? Do you think they're going to beat them that much? By that many points?
Georgia Tech's 2-2.
Georgia Tech?
They beat a Florida State team that's not very good. They beat a Louisville team that's lost the last 3 in a row.
Mm-hmm. Well,
so they beat Syracuse.
Yeah, who have they played? Who have they played?
So Georgia Tech has played Florida State. They won.
Okay.
They lost to UCF, which is no slouch.
Okay.
They lost to Syracuse, which is an up and down, not even an up and down team.
No, they're down. They're down.
They're down. And they beat Louisville, who's lost the last 3 games.
That's what I was talking about earlier with Miami. Who had Miami beat? Miami beat Louisville. Miami's not that great. Clemson is good, but they're not the greatest. And Miami's not that great. And they beat Louisville. Georgia Tech is not that great. So Clemson, you know what? Clemson probably is going to win by 28 points. There's probably, maybe I should take. I'm not going to bet that game.
I wouldn't bet that game.
They are clearly the favorites. Georgia Tech has no chance. What's his name? Pretty blonde boy. He probably won't even play the fourth quarter.
Trevor. What do they call him? Sunshine.
Sunshine won't even play in the fourth quarter.
He don't like to be called Sunshine.
He'll be up 40. They'll be up 42-14 going into the fourth quarter. He won't play.
Well, let's go to the next game.
What's the next game?
My favorite team in the ACC.
Who's this?
UNC. With Mac Brown as the coach.
I know you brought him up earlier, and
the Longhorns are
talking about
begging him to come back.
They would have been better off just staying by him in the last 7 or 8 years. But
anyway, I'm not a Longhorn fan, so UNC plays at Florida State, which is any other time would have been tough to go down there and win, but Florida State has really gone down ever since Jimbo Fisher left. I guess Jimbo Fisher saw something coming.
Sure.
And he said, I'm getting out of here when A&M offered him all that money.
Yeah.
And Florida State is just not the Florida State of old. They're 1-3. The only game they won was against a FCS school, Jacksonville State. And they came from behind to win that game. I remember watching on TV. They won 41-24. They got beat last week by Notre Dame. They lost to Miami real bad. And they lost a tough one the first game of the year to Georgia Tech. But, Tech is not all that good either. So they're playing a UNC school that's coached by Mac Brown, which I like. I've always liked Mac Brown, even though I'm not a Longhorn fan. But he did a great job while he was at Texas. And he's done a great job at UNC the first 2 years. He's only been there. This is his second year. He found him a quarterback. He went with him. A quarterback named Sam Howell. That's a true sophomore.
Mm-hmm.
And they've won the first 3 games over Syracuse, Boston College, and Virginia Tech.
And who are they playing?
Syracuse, Boston College, and Virginia Tech.
But who's North Carolina playing? What's the
Florida State.
Florida State, right?
At Florida State in Tallahassee.
And what's the line?
13.5-point favorite, North Carolina.
I think that's decent. North Carolina should win that game by 14 points.
They probably should. 64 is the over and under. Last week they scored 56 points. So
By themselves.
But I don't know if Florida State is really that bad, but they could be. It's an iffy over and under.
I think you go with North Carolina and the overs is the way I'm going to look at it. Because they're going to put up a lot of points. They're going to score 42 points, and Florida will score 14. Oh, that's only 56. What is it? 64?
64.
Jeez. I don't know.
I don't know. I wouldn't. I'd stay away.
It could
from
be.
that
Yeah. Well, I don't want to bet that game.
If I would bet the game, I'd bet.
We'll let the folks at home. We'll let you know the actual game that we really think that we're actually going to bet on. We're not coming up to that yet. We haven't come to one
game, of those. And the last game of the ACC we're looking at is Louisville at Notre Dame.
Okay, that's on national. That's on national.
Like Notre Dame. Oh, yeah, Notre Dame's always on TV.
It's on TV.
NBC.
Yeah,
they got a contract with them. So Notre Dame's 3-0, ranked I think in the top 5. I know Alabama's 2, Georgia's 3, Clemson's 1. I think Notre Dame is 4, and Ohio State is 5.
They haven't even played a game.
But anyway, Notre Dame's beat Duke. It wasn't too impressive, 27-13. Killed South Florida, 52-0. And they beat Florida State last week, 42-26. Florida State scored 26 points on them.
They haven't played nobody then.
Not really. But they're 16.5 points favorite over Louisville. Louisville, they're not bad. They got a good quarterback named Cunningham.
Yes, I've seen him on TV. He's an exciting player.
Yeah, and but they lost to Miami. They lost to Pitt in a tough game. And they lost to Georgia Tech in a blowout. And the only game they won was against Western Kentucky, the first game of the year. But they got potential to be decent. They may be 6 and well, I don't know how many games they're going to play this year. In the old days, you could say last year, you could say 12 games, 6 and 6. I don't know how many games they're going to get to play.
It's tough.
Year.
Yeah, if you're 1-3, it's hard to get way above that. So,
but the overs and unders are 64.5. I think it might be 64.5 over.
Louisville scored quite a bit of points in the games.
They're going to score at least 20-something points. And Notre Dame, if they're going to win, they got to score in the 30s or 40s. So Notre Dame is going to probably win like they did last week, 40-something to 20-something.
Okay.
Which would be an overs.
So possibly.
Could be a good bet to bet the overs. The last game
we still have another ACC game?
Nope, that was the last.
That was the last.
I like this game. This comes from the American Athletic Conference.
Okay.
I like this team UCF.
Okay.
Yeah. At Memphis. When these two teams get together,
it's always a great.
It's
fireworks.
Whoever has the ball last.
It's fireworks, folks. Fireworks.
The overs is 73.5. So
you know,
Vegas knows something.
73.5.
So it's going to be in the 40s.
You're going to see a lot of touchdowns. If you watch this game, folks,
UCF has a
there's going to be a lot of scoring.
Nigga by the name of Gabriel. I think it's his last name. And he's a good one. He's a left-handed player. And they're 2-1. They shouldn't have lost last week, but they did. They let Tulsa slip up on them and beat them 34-26. But they beat East Carolina and Georgia Tech. And Memphis is 1-1. They beat Arkansas State, but they lost to the Ponies. SMU. I like SMU. They just won tonight in overtime.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's going to be a good game. I'm sure it's going to be on one of the ESPN channels tomorrow. I forgot what time they play. Let me look real quick.
Yeah, check.
I think it's a.
This is where we edit it, Pop. So when we actually set it up, this whole 5-10 seconds.
It's 3:30, 2:30 Central Time, 2:30 our time.
2:30 game.
Our time.
Well, when we were looking at the games. Normally, we look at the 11 o'clock Central games. Then there's the 2:30, 3 o'clock Central games, and then there's normally the 6 and 7:30. So when you're looking at the schedule, you're looking at these different sets of games at these times. Am I right?
Yes, but we're looking now at the SEC.
Okay,
Then we're going to look at the 11 o'clock games that we're betting.
Okay. We'll focus on
We
those
ain't
at the
doing
very
too good in our bets.
No, we haven't. Didn't our cousin
So
Monty
don't
said
take our advice.
don't take our advice, folks. It's no, you might as well just flip a coin, okay? But getting into the SEC, what's the first game?
First game is a team I hate and a coach I hate. Malzahn, Auburn at South Carolina. It's a 3-point favorite Auburn team.
Okay.
All the talk show host people, Neuheisel, Chris Childers, and Mark Packer, they're all saying South Carolina looks like they could win this game, or probably is going to win this game.
That's who they're picking.
That's who they're.
That's who they're picking. Okay.
They're gonna. It's South Carolina. South Carolina's 1-2. Muschamp has to win. If he doesn't win 6 games in this shortened schedule year, I don't think he'll be there next year.
No, they get. Is this his fourth? How many? Is this his fourth year? I think this is his fourth year.
I think he's been there longer than that. But anyway, he's only beat Vanderbilt. He lost to Florida, and he lost to Tennessee the opening game.
Mm-hmm.
I think last week was a win against Vanderbilt. Of course, poor Vanderbilt, is they always have a tough time.
Sure.
But that's their own win. The line, like I said, is you take South Carolina and take 3 points.
3 point? 3 even?
3. You're getting 3 points if you take Carolina. And Auburn is 1-2. They're 2-1. They beat Kentucky. They lost to Georgia. Looked ugly against Georgia. I think they lost 6-27 against Georgia.
Something like that.
And they got lucky against Arkansas because the stupid referees didn't know the rules.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
On that play when the guy was trying to down the ball, spike the ball to stop the clock. The ball went backwards. He picked it up. He fumbled the ball, spiked it backwards, which was a fumble. And Arkansas recovered it, but they gave it to him. They gave the ball back to Auburn.
Yeah, what a...
And they kicked the field goal to win the game 30-28.
Oh, my God, that's terrible.
It was terrible. It was terrible call.
How has that happened now in the age of instant replay? They should have looked that up.
And they did. Instant replay called it a fumble. I mean, a backwards pass.
Wow.
Called it a pass. So anyway, the overs and unders is 52. I don't look for, that might be a good unders.
The unders? And the line was only 3? Is 3?
3 points. You get...
Well, we're not betting on that one.
Nah.
I'm going to say Auburn's going to win by... I'd take Auburn. I'd give the points. I think Auburn's going to...
South Carolina win.
What is his name?
Muschamp.
No, not Muschamp. No. Malzahn. Auburn. Malzahn at Auburn. He's a good coach in terms of X's and O's. And so there's times in which the game plan pulls through and they win. So I think this is going to be one of those situations where I'm taking Auburn into 3 points. Okay. What's next?
Kentucky at Tennessee. I like the guy at Kentucky because he's a Stoops boy. The Stoops boys are good coaches. And he's done a good job.
No, he's done a hell of a job.
He's been there 8 years, I think I heard today.
They're more competitive. They've won more games.
But they lost Auburn. They lost a heartbreaker in overtime on a missed extra point to Mississippi. But they did a hell of a job last week against the Pirate, Mississippi State.
Mm-hmm.
They skunked them. I heard today on the show, on the Mark Packer show, where Mississippi State, in losing 24-2, was the first time in Leach's...
they didn't score a touchdown?
They got shut out.
Yeah.
Without scoring a touchdown.
In
his whole career.
Oh, my God.
So...
Which is long. He's been coaching 30 years.
He's been coaching more than that, I'm sure. Which is bad news because they got to play with our Aggies this week.
No, I'm sure he's been coaching them up. They're gonna.
So
And historically, A&M has always played terrible since Johnny Manziel has been gone.
they've been going
I bet you since 2013 to 2000, and so in the last 7 seasons,
8 years.
8 years, I bet you
4-4.
it's 4-4.
4-4.
Yeah, no.
Anyway, they're playing at Tennessee. Tennessee is up and coming a little bit. They beat South Carolina, they beat Missouri, and they got put back in their little shoes by losing to Georgia. But Georgia is Georgia,
Sure.
like Alabama's Alabama.
Uh-huh.
So they lost last week, 21-44. It was closer than that at one time. And the line is take Kentucky and get 6 points, or take Tennessee and give up 6 points.
So Tennessee's favored by 6.
Yes, and the overs and unders is 46.
That's kind of low. That's
low.
That's very low nowadays. 46.
I don't know.
You know why
we ain't betting that game.
We're not betting that game, but I would take Tennessee just because I think they're due, and then I would go the overs because 46. That's low. That's
low.
Disrespectful considering they're saying their offenses are not very good. They're gonna have a hard time moving the ball.
They scored 31, 35, and 21.
Then how can you do a 46 point? Are you sure? Did you write that down right?
Of course I did.
All right. Well, then take the overs, folks.
Okay.
That's probably a sure. That's a sure bet right there. Take the overs on the Tennessee. If anything else, nothing else. Take the overs on that game. What's next?
Ole Miss at Arkansas.
Okay.
Oh, Lane Kiffin.
Lane Kiffin. He's my boy. I like Lane Kiffin. He gets a bad. I think he had been given a bad rap. But you know what? I think he's a hell of a coach. Everywhere he's at, they've done well.
Lane Kiffin, if you don't know or remember, his daddy was a coach for the L.A. Raiders.
Uh-huh.
He was a defensive coordinator. That's how Lane Kiffin got his name from his dad.
Uh-huh.
He became the L.A. Raiders. Or the Oakland
he was there,
Raiders
for a little bit. Yes.
He bombed out.
Yes.
He ended up.
But he was Tennessee. He was the Tennessee head coach before that.
No.
Yes, he was at Tennessee. Then he went to L.A.
No.
Or he went to L.A.
He started out at Oakland Raiders.
No, or USC.
No. Listen to me.
I'm listening.
Linda.
Okay.
He was at Oakland Raiders head coach.
Okay.
He bombed out.
Yes.
He ended up at Tennessee somehow. There might have been a stop or two somewhere else, but he ended up at Tennessee, and he didn't stay there but 1 year.
And then
Southern Cal came calling.
Yes.
So he went to Southern Cal.
Yes.
And he bombed out at Southern Cal.
Uh-huh.
He got left behind when they lost to Arizona State. They told him, don't get on the plane. Don't get on the bus. You're not coming back with us.
Yeah.
So from there, he ended up at
Alabama,
where
he turned
psychology man Nick Saban takes all the failures and helps them out.
Yeah. It's like a rehab. It's a rehab. It's a rehab.
It's a rehab center. And he became the offensive coordinator. And he did good. He won him a national championship.
Yes.
But then he got the job at Florida Atlantic, and they lost the national championship because he left them to go to Florida Atlantic.
Yes.
And he turned Florida Atlantic around.
He did well there. And so
he ends up in Mississippi.
Yes.
So he's a good coach, though.
Yeah, I think he is.
He scored 48 points against Alabama last week.
He did. He played them tough.
The problem was Alabama scored 63. But they scored 35 on Florida. But Florida doesn't play no defense anyway. They lost that game 51-35. And they beat Kentucky in that overtime game because the Kentucky kicker missed the extra point.
They could have lost that game.
So they're playing and up and trying to come around Arkansas. They played Georgia.
Oh, Arkansas is on a streak. Arkansas is on a 1 game.
No,
they got snapped.
No,
Right?
they got snapped.
They were on a 1 game streak.
They lost to Georgia the opening game, but were ahead, I think, at half 7-5.
Yes.
Ended up losing. Then they beat Mississippi State. Made Mississippi State look like bunch of junior high players.
They played terrible. Yeah, I remember.
And then they lost to Auburn when they shouldn't have. They should be on a 2-game winning streak because they got that game taken away from them. Anyway, Mississippi's only 1.5-point favorite.
It's almost like a toss-up.
It's a toss-up. But this is what gets me here. The overs is ridiculous. 75. And I think I got that right. Let me check it again. You're going to edit that, right?
Yeah, we'll edit it. Just check it out.
75. That's a lot of points. I don't think Mississippi might could score 50.
They scored 48 against Alabama. Okay? That's what the bookies are looking at. They're thinking, hell, this team is going to score 56 points by themselves.
Well, let's go to the next game.
Who's next?
Our mighty Aggies.
All right.
The Aggies are at Mississippi State. Like you said a while ago, since they've been in the SEC, they're 4-4.
Okay.
And I bet you those 4 losses have been at. No, I know one loss was at Aggie land, but I bet you the other 3 have been in Mississippi State, in Starkville. Like they call it Star Vegas.
Star Vegas. Okay.
They call it Star Vegas. Anyway, it's 2-1 versus 1-2 Mississippi State. Mississippi State looked like a world beaters when they beat LSU 44-34.
Yeah, they looked like they were.
Quarterback JT Costello passed for 400 and something yards passing. Or was it 600?
No, it was a lot. They scored a crap load of points.
It was
as well.
600. 623 yards, I think it was. And I think I told you that day, and the Aggies got to play Mississippi State. Anyway, they screwed it up the following week against Arkansas.
They had a hangover.
They lost 14-21. And then last week, I think they were playing basketball and they scored 2 free throws and lost 2-24 to Kentucky.
How you said you said it earlier? That was the first time Mike Leach
has been shut out
hadn't scored
in his
touchdown.
whole coaching career.
So I think this is what's not good for the Aggies because they're gonna come back. He's gonna coach them up, and A&M's favored. What's the line?
The line is the Aggies -6.
So -6.
And the overs is 54.5.
I think it's gonna be an overs game. A&M can score. I think A&M put up a lot of points against Florida. They scored some points on Alabama. They were rusty that first game. They just didn't play well. Of course. But I think they kind of found their identity. That Spiller, the tailback,
he's a good one.
They've been giving him. He was a 5-star recruit. They've been giving him the ball more. He's grown. I think he's matured.
He's just a sophomore.
So exactly, he's young. He's probably He's probably 19 or 20 years old. He's maturing. He's becoming a better player every game. So I think they're going to start relying more on the run game.
Kevin Mon can play 2-3 games in a row. Even though they lost to Alabama 24-52, he threw 3 touchdowns.
Sure.
Last week he threw 3 touchdown passes. More important, no INTs.
Okay, yes.
So if he can have another game like he's had the last 2 weeks,
sure,
then people might say, hey, maybe Kellen Mond is not that bad.
Sure.
Anyway.
Because the point is, you bring that up is because we have been doubting him.
Everybody.
Yes. He has been doubted. So beating Florida last week, scored him. It was a big game for him.
First time Jimbo Fisher has beaten a top 10 team since he's been at
A&M. Yeah, this is their biggest. Yeah, it was his first big win. So they have to. The thing about Sumlin was they would have these hangovers. They would lose. I remember one time they were even ranked in the top 4 for the playoffs, and then they lose to Mississippi State the next week, kind of thing.
Yep.
So that's where Jimbo Fisher. That's why you give him all this money, because that's the kind of stuff that you don't let happen in a program that's run like that.
Hopefully not.
So we'll see.
Okay, the big game, 6:30 our time. I think it's 6:30 our time. I'm sure it is. Is Alabama at home against Georgia. And if it's anything,
let's talk about Saban. Let's talk about Saban and having Corona at some point.
He don't have Corona. He's like Donald Trump, your man.
He got cured real quick, right?
Cured.
They gave
he's
him
not cured yet. He's got to pass.
Well, one more time,
right?
One
more time. I think today came out negative.
Did they give him the special cocktail of medicine?
There's no telling.
I'm sure.
If he's a Republican, maybe Donald Trump slipped him in.
Right? He probably did. They have a secret stash. He had to hook up. Trump probably called him and said, "Look, Nick, I got the good stuff. I'm gonna send it to you right away. You're gonna be okay. You're gonna be okay."
Smarter than Donald Trump. If Nick ran for president, he'd win.
He could be, Saban could be a senator of Alabama for sure. He could be a senator.
Well, the senator for Alabama, if I'm not mistaken, is
Tuberville. Well, no, he's running for. Well, he's running for.
He's gonna win.
You think he's gonna win?
There ain't been another Democrat that's won.
Well, I don't know. Well, right now there's a guy.
And I don't like Tuberville.
Well, he's gonna.
Anyway, Saban could be at the game if he tested negative today and tests negative tomorrow.
Okay.
Then he can go to the game.
Okay.
So, and it's at home, so he doesn't have to go like jump on a plane and get to Georgia or anything like that.
Sure.
So, my money would be betting that
he's going to
be at the game.
He's going to be at the game.
And there's a lot of pressure in listening to the talk show shows that if he's not there, there's going to be a lot of pressure on Georgia and Kirby Sam's to win.
Kirby Smart
to win because if he doesn't win, they said Nick Saban wasn't even there and you still couldn't beat him.
Sure.
So, but I think Nick Saban's going to be there.
I think.
But it's going to be a good game. I've been listening to all those call-ins talk guys from Georgia.
Mm-hmm. They're talking a lot of smack.
Talking a lot of smack. This guy named Bulldog. I can't remember his first name. Something Bulldog. He was ranting and raving that how Georgia was going to kick their butt. He had his pit ready to cook. Had his six-pack on ice. Had his tent set up and everything. He could go back to the 70s and 80s when Kershaw Walker and all these other names he came out with, and they're going to just put it on Alabama. And then this guy talks again today about Georgia, that they're going to whip up on Alabama whether Nick Saban is there or not. And so this guy from Alabama calls in and says, you know what, 20-point spread and I'll give you the points. Alabama's going to kick their butt. The line, I think, is only 4. And this
guy's trying to give 20. Oh, yeah, he's a homer.
So is he a true Bama fan?
Right. I saw
it. When he signed up, he said, Roll Tide.
Roll Tide, right?
Well, anyway, they're both 3-0. They haven't played a common opponent.
Yeah.
Alabama's beaten Missouri, A&M, and Ole Miss. And everybody's doubting Alabama's defense because they gave up 48 points.
That's where the coaching comes in, and that's where Saban is. That's where the coaching comes up. We're going to find out if the Alabama defense gets better throughout the season, every game. So, and that's coaching. That's players getting better and being coachable. I feel like that's what's going to happen. So they're going to... I take Alabama. If I'm betting, I'm taking Alabama.
The overs and unders is 56.
Could be.
I don't know. I think it's going to be like a 31-24 game. It's going to be close to 56.
That 31-24 would be 55. So, yeah.
I don't know. So...
We didn't bet that game. Which of the games? We were taking A&M and the overs.
No, we weren't.
I thought we were taking A&M and the overs.
We were going to
Or just the overs. Just the overs on the A&M.
West Virginia and Kansas, and we were taking the overs, which was 51.5.
Okay. Folks at home, write this down. These are sure bets.
We we haven't been doing too good.
These are the early. So these are only early game bets. Because if we don't win this bet, then we won't play anymore. The day is over for us.
The day is over.
We just go to bed.
Let me see. I know we took West Virginia and the overs because West Virginia, we're thinking they're going to score combined 51.5 on Kansas. Surely West Virginia is going to score 40-something points. All Kansas has to do is score maybe 10 points, maybe 14 when they let the JV play for West Virginia. It's at West Virginia. Les Miles is not going to be there because he's got the virus. Donald Trump didn't give him no medicine.
It's China's fault.
So
China virus. You forgot the China, when you said the virus, you forgot the China part.
Our other bet is we took South Carolina and the 3 points against Auburn. Mainly because I hate that Malzahn.
Was that a 2:30 game? That wasn't an 11
that's
game.
11
That's 11 game. So we took that one?
Yeah.
Okay. That was part of our
We're
3
going to
game?
bet a 3-game parlay.
Yeah, okay, so that was the
we
third
can't
game?
even win 2, but we're going to bet 3.
Because sometimes you got to go big. You go
gotta go big.
You go big or you go home. So, and then
then we took Pitt. No, we're
Pitt.
not betting A&M.
I thought we were going to take the overs on the A&M game.
No. I don't like to bet against my teams that I like.
No, that's why we were going to bet the overs.
We bet them last week and we lost.
Okay.
We're taking Pitt and the 14 points. Pittsburgh plays good defense.
These are. Let me look at it. These are the games
that we're betting tomorrow morning.
So we're taking South Carolina and the 3 points. We're taking Pitt and the 14 points, and we're going the overs on the West Virginia Kansas game.
Yes.
All right.
Go see if Miller's winning.
For a second there, I thought every time I went over there, they were playing the band was playing for a long time. It seemed strange. All right, we're gonna take a break. Welcome back from the break, ladies and gentlemen. Another episode of Jamin's Daily, and this podcast is brought to you by Sage Choice Insurance. You can reach us at 361-400-2411. We specialize in homeowners and auto insurance. So if you're loan originators, if you are realtors, we can help you close your deals. We help your clients. Reach out to us, 361-400-2411. Folks at home, you want a quick quote? Go to quotefromjamin.com. Quotefromjamin.com. Send us your data. We'll run the quote, get it to you safe and secure. Super easy quotes. Sage Choice Insurance. Now, Coach, I have some questions for you dealing with not just the numbers, not just the lines and making guesses at who's going to win. I want to know right now on the hot seat, Tom Herman. I read several articles this week after the loss that they've just fallen short. Not just him, but the AD. Did you know that the players have not been staying after the games for the Eyes of Texas, which has been a tradition? Do you know that the players have not been doing that?
No, yeah, I knew that. I read the article today where in this last game against Oklahoma, only the quarterback, Sam Ellinger, was the only one that was standing out there in front of the Eyes of Texas band with his, with the hook 'em horn sign. Sure. Everybody else went in, and they've been doing that. It's
how do you do? I mean, how does it come to that? It makes no sense. And then for your quarterback, you wonder why they're not winning. Their quarterback, who should be the leader of the team, is the only one who's actually honoring this tradition. That means...
I read something where Sam Ellinger, whatever his name Ellinger has always been a Longhorn.
Sure.
From the time he was 2 years old, I've seen video where he made the hook 'em sign. And he'll always be a Longhorn. Where these other guys, other players, they've been Longhorns only because they were awarded
A scholarship.
scholarship.
Sure.
They never knew probably much about being a Longhorn. So
I agree.
it's a little different, I
No,
guess.
I completely agree. But how?
And with all this racial tension going
Sure,
on.
but how can it be the only one? There's 60, 70 players, and he's the only one. That is what you would think there would be 5, 6 of them.
Yeah,
he would have a little
exactly.
group of people there. But if he is the only one, that to me says
To me,
something.
there's a sign of the
Some
coaches lost them.
There's some division there.
There's some division between the players and the coaches, where the players are maybe, I don't know, maybe they're not believing in him anymore. I think they brought in some new coaches. They're playing bad defense. They brought in a new defensive coordinator, a new offensive coordinator, and the offense has moved the ball. They're scoring points, but I think it's mainly on the defense.
Mm-hmm.
But
and where does Herman come in on this? So where is his expertise on the offensive side? Am I right?
Yeah, I think
he's an offensive coach.
He's an offensive coach, from what I gather. He did a great job at Houston. You know, he was I think offensive coordinator at Ohio State at one time.
That's right. That's where he started.
I don't know if from Ohio State if he went to Houston from there, but
he did. No, that's exactly where he went. He went from Houston. He went from Ohio State to Houston to Texas.
I think, I don't know. It's a tough job there at Texas. It's you have to win, and 8-4, 9-3 is not good enough. And they haven't been winning the conference. They haven't won the conference championship in, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 years.
They've won it like that. They've won it like 2 times in 20 years. They have not won it at all, really. So
well, Oklahoma has dominated the conference.
They have. They've done that, and to see them both struggling is fairly funny, humorous at this point. But to my Longhorn, my friends who are Longhorns, because I'm an Aggie, right? So we have these conversations often, and they're all pro Mac. They're all bring Mac back, bring Mac back. They want Mac Brown back. They all realize that they should have never fired him. It's so funny.
When I grew up, I used to be a Longhorn fan, and I liked the Longhorns. I remember from the days of when I was a kid in 1960, when they had a guy from Heavenville, Texas, named Rene Ramirez, and they went to the Cotton Bowl. And they played in the Cotton Bowl in '59 when Syracuse was national champs and had the great Ernie Davis. And in the movie, they show where they went to the Cotton Bowl and Syracuse won the Cotton Bowl. But I always was a Texas fan. And Del Royal came in, was the coach, and he did a great job. They won a couple of national championships in '63 and '69 with quarterbacks that didn't even go to the pros. With James Street and Duke Carlisle. But they had some great players. And after Del Royal left, they brought in Fred Akers, and Fred Akers did a good job. Did a hell of a job. He should have won a national championship, but they lost to Georgia in the Cotton Bowl. And I think the fans didn't ever forgive him for that. And they let him go when they brought in Makovic.
Yeah, okay.
But when they let Fred Akers go, I said, you know what? That was wrong. He had a great tenure there at Texas, and I just
that kind of you gave you a bitter taste,
and I
you were a little
Longhorn.
salty. Yeah, you weren't as happy about it.
About that time, Jackie Shell came into A&M, and I met Jackie Shell when I was coaching at Refugio, and he was trying to recruit James Lott, who ended up at Texas, and I became an Aggie fan. And then, of course, you and Mona, our daughter, your sister, graduated from A&M. My granddaughter goes there. I have a cousin a nephew that graduated from there. Another niece that graduated from there. So we became Aggies.
That's right.
But I left the Longhorns because I didn't think Makovic was the right fit when they got rid of Fred Akers.
And he wasn't. And then after Makovic, it was Mac Brown.
Mac Brown.
And
he did a great job.
Sure. No, he did.
But then he went to a little struggle there a couple of years, and they get rid of him. And they bring in
Charlie Strong.
That didn't work out. So they bring in Tom Herman. And I don't know if it doesn't look good right now.
No.
This is his 4th year. Like they said, this is his recruiting class. He's got really no excuses.
Sure, these are his players.
He's losing recruits, top 5 stars. Some family named Brockemeyer, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Two boys from the Austin that decided. I think one went to Alabama. The other one went somewhere else. I think Penn State or something. But they left instead of going to Texas.
Yeah.
And there was another one, another 5-star, just recently, the other day, 3-4 days ago.
From Texas.
Yes, that said no to the Longhorns. And I don't know, I think he went to Oklahoma. He went to Oklahoma because his girlfriend, I think this kid's out of Dallas, this boy's girlfriend, is going to Oklahoma on a softball scholarship.
Yeah.
So he went to be with his girlfriend. He said, between Texas and Oklahoma, I think I'd rather go chase my girlfriend and be a Sooner, because the Sooners were after him anyway.
Sure.
So he's losing players.
It's hard to convince him. It's hard to compete with women like that.
Yeah.
So that was, I don't fault Herman for that, but I do. The article that I read was really also throwing the AD under the bus, and that apparently when this whole social justice thing started going around and everything came under scrutiny. So nobody ever said anything. The Eyes of Texas was never a problem until it was a problem, right? All of a sudden now it's a problem. And the article that I read was talking about how he had a meeting with the players, and they decided to do all these different things. They were going to change the names of certain facilities who were associated with, I guess, racist, right? They were going to do this, they were going to do that, and the players were all happy about it. But at that point, what the author of this article was saying, that at that point it should have been made clear, we're doing all of this, but then you have to do this, which is you have to stay after the game and honor this tradition of the song itself.
Because the Eyes of Texas was never going to change.
Yes, they said they weren't going to do it. They were going to own it. They were going to reinvent it, and it was for everybody. And the AD never made that clear to the coaches and to the players. So then when the players decided amongst themselves that they weren't going to do that, and they just left, apparently they've lost tens of millions of dollars in donations. That they're hemorrhaging money because of this. It's a huge problem within the athletic department, and they're all blaming him that Herman and the AD for the players not, the fans are pissed off about it, especially the donors who give the money. They said, listen, they're not going to, it's like these ultimatums. So I think that's a huge problem of what's ailing the program in itself, why they can't win. You see there, Sam, he's the only one who's singing the song, and sometimes it seems like he's the only one who's giving a damn at trying to win the game. No one's. I don't blame him.
If it wasn't for him last Saturday, they would have lost worse. That guy.
No, if he wasn't playing, if he was not in the game, they lose every game by double digits. Yes. Okay, whoever is the backup, they're not winning any games. Okay, so the fact that they even have a chance to win is because of Sam. And then he's the only one honoring this tradition. It's pissing everybody off. All it does is divide people.
Yeah.
And that's what this article is talking about, is that they blame the AD. They're basically saying he needs to be fired because he should have, from the beginning, told them, we're going to do all these things for social justice. We're going to change these things. We're doing all these things for you. But because we do this, you do this. It's a give and take, right? We're going to do this for you, so please do this. It was never expressed that way. And now look what happens.
But supposedly, it's just not football. It's even in the volleyball, from what I understand. And even the volleyball girls are not standing there. I don't know how many or if all of them.
No, yes.
But they're not staying for the song.
No, well, it's funny you brought that. We probably saw the same thing. So this was an article a couple of days ago where they had been just walking off. And so they came under so much scrutiny for doing that. So recently, you're talking about the UT volleyball team, when after the game, when the song was on, instead of like standing up and putting your hook 'em horns and honoring the song, they got into like how they get into a little huddle, little circle huddle, and just did some kind of powwow or some crap, and their message after the fact was that, we realize, we want to stay on for the song so that we're not disrespecting the fans, but we don't want to acknowledge we have a problem with the song. Yeah. So we'll stay here, but we're going to do our own thing, like the song's not even being played. All that does is even make it worse. It's like picking at the scab.
Yeah.
It's so dumb. It's like what the critics are saying. It's inexcusable for the powers that be not make some kind of concessions with the players to make them understand that you have to do this. And the thing about it is, there's so many minorities. There are Mexicanos, Asians, and even black folks who are alumni, former students, who don't, when they hear the Eyes of Texas, they feel nothing but pride.
Yeah.
Has nothing to do with some, racism, okay? And so you're robbing, what makes me upset about it is that you're robbing them of this tradition that means something to them over something that happened even 70, in the teens, in 1920, they played this song in some minstrel show. What does that mean to the Mexican American who went there in the 80s and is proud to be Henry, God bless, God rest his soul, may he rest in peace. You think when he went to the song, he was a big UT fan. You think when he heard the Eyes of Texas, did he ever think anything other than having nothing but pride?
Oh yeah.
Right? And now these social justice warriors are robbing these people of that. It's inexcusable. I can't support it.
I can't either. But, be what it be, people take a stand for something.
They do. And, it's a pendulum, the pendulum swing, they say. So it goes this way, then it goes that way. So it's going to come back. It'll be all right. But it is, the reason why I brought this up, Coach, was because I feel like it is affecting the program.
Oh, yeah.
They're not winning.
Definitely.
It's affecting the wins and losses, and I don't see that changing.
They're 2-2 right now, and they still haven't played Kansas State. They haven't played Baylor. They haven't played Oklahoma State. Those are not sure wins, those 3 games right there. Mm-hmm. They'll beat Kansas. Iowa State, if they play Iowa State at Iowa State, that's going to be tough.
Sure.
They're looking at maybe 4 or 5 losses.
Sure, they can be 3 and they can be like 4 and 4 or whatever the show. How many games are they going to play?
They're playing 10.
So they can be 5 and
5,
6 and 4 or something like that.
Very easy.
I agree.
Very easily.
I agree. I agree.
But I don't know.
Well, do they give him? You were saying what we had. What's in the media is that they were gonna give him another. I mean,
I heard
unless they just get embarrassed.
And the people talking, I think it was New Heisel and Chris Childers, that they're not going to buy him off. He has at least another year. I think every coach in college should be given at least 5 years. Mm-hmm. If you can't turn it around or improve it, then maybe they should get rid of you. But, if no progress within the 5 years, maybe it's time to go. Mm-hmm. In Texas, that's not progression. No. In Tom Herman's,
No, the only reason why it's 5 years, in what happened was, if Herman was on his original contract, this would be his contract year. But after that Sugar Bowl year, they gave him a 2-year extension, which means he's on under contract, not this year and next year, but like one extra year. So they're not just buying 1 year. It's going to cost them $10 million in $14 million in salary to get rid of him at this point after this season.
Strong cost them
a lot of money too. Yes, all these situations. Yes, they've been.
When it gets down to it, the alumni has the money.
They'll make it happen.
They'll make it happen. They'll come up with the money.
Sure.
It won't come out of the school.
No, it never does. It never does. But that is what you're saying. These analysts were talking about. Part of the calculus in their the thought process is, we just can't buy him off. It's too much. We'll give him 1 more year. So if he sucks it up, if Sam's the quarterback, they're going to win some of those.
He won't be the quarterback.
Not next year, but this year. I'm saying how they finish it off so that they give him 1 more year. So they'll win.
Did I tell you about his record compared to Buechele?
You were making that point earlier. SMU
before we got on the air.
But we gotta say how Buechele was the same class, or maybe a year earlier, or same class,
same class,
and he was the starter.
Took over. Buechele had that great game against Notre Dame, but then it didn't work out. Ellinger, I think, took over. Mm-hmm. They went with him. And in the last 17 games, we can say 18 now for Buechele. Mm-hmm. Buechele is 15-3 since he left the UT campus. Mm-hmm. And Erlinger is 10-7. He's got great stats, like they say, But the bottom line, does he have a W?
No. Sam to me is, Sam Ehlinger is he's a great player.
He's a player.
He's a gamer. He's a great player. But there's something about UT. That's what it's hard to explain on their game planning and what's going on with the talent. But if Buechele would have stayed, I think Buechele is more of a finesse quarterback, throw the ball, and could have brought more out of. I think what happens is with UT under Ehlinger, they rely too much on him, and the other athletes on the field don't shine. He's stealing. Yeah, he's stealing all the thunder. And his thunder alone isn't enough to win. Whereas with Buechele, he's more of a distributor and can get the ball, and so other playmakers have a chance to make a play. Yep. Whereas with Sam, it's just him. It's him.
And it showed the last 3 games.
He's exhausted. He can't finish the game. He's exhausted by that
Oklahoma game. You could see his uniform all black and dirty. And
sure. It affected his ability to throw the ball at that last pass when he threw that interception.
Yep.
The fact that he can get it there, or where his mentality is at, it can't be there.
Well, Herman has at least 1 more year. But I'll tell you what, I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't put it past. If he doesn't win, if he goes, let's say, 4-6 that they buy him out.
So let's just say this hypothetically: they lose. They lose to Iowa State. They lose to Baylor.
Oklahoma State.
They lose Oklahoma State. They lose
Kansas State.
Yeah, they beat Kansas, but they lose all those other games.
They lose 4. That gives them.
Even if they split them, they can. If they just split those, they're gonna have 4 losses.
They got
5 losses.
Okay, they haven't played Tech. No, they did.
They got lucky and beat Tech. What do you say?
They're 2-2.
Mm-hmm. They still have Oklahoma State. That could be a loss.
Iowa State.
Iowa State could be a loss. You said
Baylor.
Kansas State could be a loss. Baylor could be a loss.
Kansas is a win.
Okay, Kansas is gonna win.
Who's the other one? Somebody's missing.
They already lost to TCU. West Virginia.
West Virginia.
West Virginia.
If it's West Virginia, that's a loss.
So that's 5 games that are toss-ups. If they lose, let's say they win 2 out of 3. So that's 3 more losses. That's 5 losses this year. That could be we need to get rid of. That could be the emergency. Who do they go after? If they fire him, who do you hire if he loses 5 games and they just get rid of him? Who do you go after? If they get rid of him, they're going to get rid of the AD too, I think.
Possibly.
They were saying that this AD has monetized. Like, this guy came in and was like this huge. Brought in a bunch of innovative ways to monetize what they were doing. You know, the stadium atmosphere, just making more money on the people who are there, all around. But in terms of making great decisions for the athletic department in terms of wins and losses, it was another story. But if you're the AD, who do you pick?
As the coach?
As the coach. You fire Tom Herman this year, and then who knows, hypothetically, whatever happens this year, who do you hire?
I have no idea right now who would want to come and take that job. I mean, it's a great job, they say. You got I won't say it's a great job. It's a prestigious. There's a difference between being in my opinion, a great job, and then there's prestigious job. Because there's some great jobs out there where you haven't made, it's a great job. But a prestigious job is because, you're there at Texas, right? So it's prestigious. Who I think would do a good job?
Who's that?
2 guys. Gary Patterson at TCU and Spike Dykes at SMU. Because they're good old Texas boys.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know exactly where Patterson is from, but Dykes has been all over the state of Texas.
Mm-hmm.
He's been to Tech. I don't know where he started his coaching career, but I know one time he was a high school coach. He was the head coach at Dallas, Texas.
Mm-hmm. So he would have some clout within the recruiting and coaches within the state.
They're just good old boys.
Sure.
That could make it here in Austin, and those 2 guys. They've talked about Patterson before. But
Patterson has always said that what he was trying to do at TCU, because he's already been there, 15 years?
17, 15 years.
That he felt like he was more than just the coach now within that university. He was trying to do a fraternity, the library is named after him, his family, him and stuff like that.
Sure.
So he was trying to be like a Joe Paterno style where he's more than just the coach. He's like this huge benefactor of the school in general. So I guess,
he might stay there.
If he stays there for 20 more years, it's probably going to be good for TCU.
Oh yeah.
They'll have him as long as he wants to be coach there. They'll probably let him be coach, unless he just sucks it up for 3 or 4 years in a row. But that's not going to happen.
Nope. No, not under his guard.
Nah, I don't think so. There's too much talent. There's too much talent in Texas for you not to have competitive teams. But, we're gonna call it. We're gonna call it a show. Thanks for joining us, folks at home. Don't forget that this podcast, Jamin's Daily, is brought to you by Sage Choice Insurance. We specialize in homeowners and auto insurance. You can call us anytime, day or night, at 361-400-2411. You can even go online. Go to quotefromjamin.com. Awesome form. Fill it out. You can get a home auto quote. Sends us the data. We get back to you with the quote. Safe, secure, encrypted. Super easy. Check it out. Quotefromjamin.com. Sage Choice Insurance, our sponsor. Jamin's Daily. Me, Jamin, your host. Just want to thank you for joining us once again. Stick with us. Stay with us because the best is yet to come.